So whiteflies, those pesky little buggers. The adult whiteflies are just tiny little white moth-like insects. Okay. Next slide. They're common insect pests actually on a number of different indoor plants, and their life cycle is about 4 to 6 weeks. You often notice them mostly when you're watering or you're handling a plant. If they're disturbed, then those little whiteflies are going to flutter all about the plant for a little while, and then they're going to return to the plant and just do a little bit more damage. So how do they damage those plants? Next slide, please. So the female adults lay eggs on the underside of the plant foliage, okay? The eggs are going to hatch, and then those little babies are going to settle down, feed for about 2 to 3 weeks, grow a little bit, feed some more. And the nymphs and adults feed by inserting their short little needle-like beaks into the foliage and sucking out plant sap. Okay, the nymphs are the most destructive of them. If you have a heavy whitefly infestation, it often can cause stunting and yellowing of leaves, leaf drop, and a big decline in your plant health. So what are the causes of those? Let's look at the next slide. They can come from anywhere, okay? But here's a few of the most common ways they get into the house. You might bring them home on a newly purchased plant that has whiteflies in it. You just don't know it. You might be using contaminated potting soil. You might be putting house plants out during the summer, which I do on my deck. Thankfully, I have not had a whitefly infestation. If you bring home fresh flowers, herbs, fruits, or vegetables from the garden, you might be bringing some in too. And sadly, they can also come through your screens. Okay, so they're so small that they can fit in through the screens. So what do we do to control them? All right. When they get on the houseplants, they're kind of difficult to control. Prevention is really the best management strategy. And if you want to begin control measurements at the first sign of any infestation, you want to carefully check any new purchased plants or plants brought indoors from the garden or the patio in the fall. Indoors, you want to isolate the plants from other house plants that you have and frequently check any new arrivals you get. As far as insecticides, you want to use those for house plants. They're one control option, but you want to be sure to follow the instructions on the labels. If you have a heavy infestation, it's usually best just to, give up the ghost, discard the plant, and prevent the whiteflies from spreading to other indoor plants so you don't have any problems. But there's also some simple household controls that you can use. Next slide. Okay, so if your plants are smaller, easy to deal with, you can use some of these home remedies, such as soapy water. Okay, kills the bugs on contact. Use a spray bottle and wash the underside of the leaves. Remember, that's where they like to hang out. Rubbing alcohol. If you dip a little cotton swab in some alcohol, you can rub them down. It's a little tedious, but it removes not only the whiteflies, but other pests too. Some neem oil, that's a natural pesticide and very effective, or some of those yellow sticky traps. They're inexpensive, non-toxic, and they can capture an assortment of bugs like the gnats, aphids, the whiteflies. So they're pretty handy to have around, but hopefully you can avoid having these by just following the couple suggestions I gave. So those are some tidbits about our whiteflies.